There is no more serious danger to our planet today than the most powerful and destructive weapons ever devised by man, of which the United States, as you know, has many. Just as I did in my first term, I've made containing these threats a top priority, starting with the nation of Iran. My position is very simple. The world's #1 sponsor of terror can never be allowed to possess the most dangerous weapon. That's why, shortly after taking office, I sent the so-called Supreme Leader a letter making a generous offer. I extended a pledge of full cooperation in exchange for a suspension of Iran's nuclear program. The regime's answer was to continue their constant threats to their neighbors and U.S. interests throughout the region, and some great countries that are right nearby. Today, many of Iran's former military commanders, in fact, I can say almost all of them, are no longer with us. They're dead. And 3 months ago, in Operation Midnight Hammer, 7 American B-2 bombers dropped the 14 30,000-pound each bombs on Iran's key nuclear facilities, totally obliterating everything. No other country on earth could have done what we did. No other country has the equipment to do what we did. We have the greatest weapons on earth. We hate to use them. But we did something that for 22 years people wanted to do. With Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity demolished, I immediately brokered an end to the 12-day war, as it's called, between Israel and Iran, with both sides agreeing to fight no longer. As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire. Instead of giving to Hamas and giving so much, because they've taken so much, this could have been solved so long ago. But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now. Just release the hostages now. Thank you. Thank you. As we have got to come together, and we will come together, got to get it done. We have to stop the war in Gaza immediately. We have to stop it. We have to get it done. We have to negotiate, immediately have to negotiate peace. We got to get the hostages back. We want all 20 back. We don't want 2 and 4. As you know, I got, along with Steve Witkoff and others that helped us, Marco Rubio, we got most of them back. We were involved in all of them. But I always said the last 20 are going to be the hardest, and that's exactly what happened. We have to get them back now. We don't want to get back 2, and then another 2, and then 1, and then 3. Have this process. No, we want them all back, and we want the actually 38 dead bodies back too. Those parents came to me, and they want them back, and they want them back very quickly and very badly. As though they were alive, they want them. They want them every bit as much as if their son or daughter were alive. I've also been working relentlessly, stopping the killing in Ukraine. I thought that would be, of the 7 wars that I stopped, I thought that would be the easiest because of my relationship with President Putin, which had always been a good one. I thought that was going to be the easiest one. But you know, in war, you never know what's going to happen. There are always lots of surprises, both good and bad. Everyone thought Russia would win this war in 3 days. But it didn't work out that way. It was supposed to be just a quick little skirmish. It's not making Russia look good. It's making them look bad. No matter what happens from here on out, this was something that should have taken a matter of days, certainly less than a week. And they've been fighting for 3.5 years and killing anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 young soldiers, mostly soldiers, on both sides, every single week, from 5,000 to 7,000 dead young people, and some in cities, much smaller numbers, where rockets are shot, where drones are dropped. This war would never have started if I were president. This was a war that should have never happened. It shows you what leadership is, what bad leadership can do to a country. Look what happened to the United States, and look where we are right now in just a short period of time. The only question now is how many more lives will be needlessly lost on both sides. China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war.
משפחת מיכאלשווילי, ראש השנה מתקרב, והפעם האירוע חייב להיות אצלנו. בשנה שעברה סבתא מלכה אירחה, היא קיבלה במתנה 15 ביימי ואצטרובל עם עיניים. בעוד כשעה תתחיל ארוחת שישי אצל סבתא. סבתא תשאל, איפה עושים השנה את החג? אריאל, אתה רץ לסבתא ומבקש ממנה שתספר לך איך היא הכירה את סבא.
אבל זה ייקח 3 שעות.
אז מה, אריאל? אז מה? שאלות.
אפשר חטיף?
שקשורות לנושא. כשיש ביימי לחג, כולם רוצים לארח. שנה טובה, מביימי.
Against themselves. Who the hell ever heard of that one? In the event that Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures. I mean, you're much closer to this. We have an ocean in between. You're right there. And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them. And it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that. They have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time. So I'm ready to discuss this. We're going to discuss it today with the European nations, all gathered here. I'm sure they're thrilled to hear me speak about it, but that's the way it is. I like to speak my mind and speak the truth. As we seek to reduce the threat of dangerous weapons today, I'm also calling on every nation to join us in ending the development of biological weapons once and for all. And biological is terrible, and nuclear is even beyond, and we include nuclear in that. We want to have a cessation of the development of nuclear weapons. We know, and I get to view it all the time. Sir, would you like to see? And I look at weapons that are so powerful that we just can't ever use them. If we ever use them, the world literally might come to an end. There would be no United Nations to be talking about. There would be no nothing. Just a few years ago, reckless experiments overseas gave us a devastating global pandemic. Yet despite that worldwide catastrophe, many countries are continuing extremely risky research into bioweapons and man-made pathogens. This is unbelievably dangerous. To prevent potential disasters, I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it can be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that. Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net. We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed. Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody is ever, and nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it. And I have to say, I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed, so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law, but you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. This cannot be sustained. What makes the world so beautiful is that each country is unique. But to stay this way, every sovereign nation must have the right to control their own borders. You have the right to control your borders, as we do now, and to limit the sheer numbers of migrants entering their countries and paid for by the people of that nation that were there and that built that particular nation at the time. They put their blood, sweat, tears, money into that country, and now they're being ruined. Proud nations must be allowed to protect their communities and prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before, with different customs, religions, with different everything. Where migrants have violated laws, lodged false asylum claims, or claimed refugee status for illegitimate reasons, they should, in many cases, be immediately sent home. And while we will always have a big heart for places and people that are struggling and truly compassionate, answers will be given. We have to solve the problem, and we have to solve it in their countries, not create new problems in our countries. And we are very helpful to a lot of countries that are just not able to send their people anymore. They used to send them to us in caravans of 25,000, 30,000 people each. These massive caravans of people pouring into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. But not anymore. According to the Council of Europe in 2024, almost 50% of inmates in German prisons were foreign nationals or migrants. In Austria, the number was 53% of the people in prisons were from places that weren't from where they are now. In Greece, the number was 54%, and in Switzerland, beautiful Switzerland, 72% of the people in prisons are from outside of Switzerland. When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did, they repaid kindness with crime. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration. Once we started detaining and deporting everyone who crossed the border and removing illegal aliens from the United States, they simply stopped coming. They're not coming anymore. We're getting a lot of credit, but they're not coming anymore. This was a humanitarian act for all involved, because on the trips up, thousands of people a week were dying. Women were being raped. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Raped, horribly beaten, raped. On the trip up, the journey up, it was a long walk. It was a long, arduous journey, indeed. And it was also a historic victory against human trafficking throughout the region. What we did was a victory, and we saved so many lives of people that wouldn't make the journey. That journey was loaded up with death. Loaded up with death. Dead bodies all along the roads of jungles to get up. They go through jungles, they go through areas so hot you couldn't breathe. They were dying of suffocation, areas so hot that you couldn't breathe. Dead bodies all over. By them not coming, we're saving tremendous numbers of lives. My people have done a fantastic job in doing what they did, and the American public agrees with it. I mean, I was very proud to see this morning I have the highest poll numbers I've ever had. Part of it is because of what we've done on the border. I guess the other part is what we've done on the economy. Joe Biden's policies empowered murderous gangs, human smugglers, child traffickers, drug cartels, and prisoners from all over the world. The previous administration also lost nearly 300,000 children. Think of that. They lost more than 300,000 children, little children, who were trafficked into the United States on the Biden watch, many of whom have been raped, exploited, and abused, and sold. Sold. Nobody talks about that. The fake news doesn't write about it. With many others, young children who are missing or dead. And we found a lot of these children, and we're sending them back, and we've been sending them back to their parents. They said, nobody knows who they are. They said, where do you come from? And they'll give us a country, and we'll find out, and we'll figure it out, and we'll bring them back to their homes. And the mother and father rush to the door, and their tears in their eyes. They can't believe that they're seeing their son or daughter, their little son or daughter again. We've done almost 30,000 of them so far. Any system that results in the mass trafficking of children is inherently evil. Yet that is exactly what the globalist migration agenda has done, and it's what it's all about. In America, those days, as you know, are over. The Trump administration is working, and we are continuing to work to track down the villains that are causing this problem, and also, as I said, to get back the 30,000 we've already returned. Now I think we're going to have another. We're going to find a lot. You're not going to find all of them. 300, more than 300,000. They're lost or they're dead. They're lost or they're dead because of the animals that did this. To protect our citizens, I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as and you see this, and you see it happening right before your eyes. Let's put it this way. People don't like taking big loads of drugs in boats anymore. There aren't too many boats that are traveling on the seas by Venezuela. They tend not to want to travel very quickly anymore. And we've virtually stopped drugs coming into our country by sea. We call them the water drugs. They kill hundreds of thousands of people. I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as foreign terrorist organizations, along with two bloodthirsty transnational gangs, probably the worst gangs anywhere in the world, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua is from Venezuela, by the way. Such organizations torture, maim, mutilate, and murder with impunity. They're the enemies of all humanity. And for this reason, we've recently begun using the supreme power of the United States military to destroy Venezuelan terrorists and trafficking networks led by Nicolas Maduro, to every terrorist thug smuggling poisonous drugs into the United States of America. Please be warned that we will blow you out of existence. That's what we're doing. We have no choice. Can't let it happen. They're destroying. I believe we lost 300,000 people last year to drugs, 300,000. Fentanyl and other drugs. Each boat that we sink carries drugs that would kill more than 25,000 Americans. We will not let that happen. Energy is another area where the United States is now thriving like never before. We're getting rid of the falsely named renewables. By the way, they're a joke. They don't work. They're too expensive. They're not strong enough to fire up the plants that you need to make your country great. The wind doesn't blow. Those big windmills are so pathetic and so bad, so expensive to operate. Then they have to be rebuilt all the time, and they start to rust and rot. Most expensive energy ever conceived, and it's actually energy. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. You lose money, the governments have to subsidize. You can't put them out without massive subsidies. And most of them are built in China, and I give China a lot of credit. They build them, but they have very few wind farms. So why is it that they build them and they send them all over the world, but they barely use them? You know what they use? Coal. They use gas. They use almost anything, but they don't like wind. But they sure as hell like selling the windmills. Europe, on the other hand, has a long way to go, with many countries being on the brink of destruction because of the green energy agenda. And I give a lot of credit to Germany. Germany was being led down a very sick path, both on immigration, by the way, and on energy. They were going green, and they were going bankrupt. And the new leadership came in, and they went back to where they were, with fossil fuel and with nuclear, which is good. It's now safe, and you can do it properly. But they went back to where they were, and they opened up a lot of different plants, energy-producing plants, and they're doing well. I give Germany a lot of credit for that. They've said this is a disaster, what's happening. They were going all green. All green is all bankrupt. That's what it represents. And it's not politically correct. I'll be very badly criticized for saying it, but I'm here to tell the truth. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm in New York City. I'm feeling a lot safer. Crime, we're getting crime down. And by the way, speaking of crime, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. was the crime capital of America. Now it's a totally, after 12 days, it's a totally safe city. Everyone's going out to dinner. They're going out to restaurants. Your wife can walk down the middle of the street with or without you. Nothing's going to happen. My people have done a fantastic job. And yes, I called in the National Guard, and the National Guard took care of business, and they weren't politically correct, but they took care of business. We got 1,700 career criminals out, brought them back to where they came from, the countries where they came from, or put them in jails. Washington, D.C. is now a totally safe city again, and I welcome you to come. In fact, we'll have dinner together at a local restaurant, and we'll be able to walk. We don't have to go by an armor-plated vehicle. We'll walk right over there from the White House. They've given up their powerful edge, a lot of the countries that we're talking about, in oil and gas, such as essentially closing the great North Sea oil. Oh, the North Sea, I know it so well. Aberdeen was the oil capital of Europe, and there's tremendous oil that hasn't been found in the North Sea. Tremendous oil. And I was with the Prime Minister I respect and like a lot, and I said, you're sitting with the greatest asset. They essentially closed it by making it so highly taxed that no developer, no oil company can go there. They have tremendous oil left, and more importantly, they have tremendous oil that hasn't even been found yet. And what a tremendous asset for the United Kingdom. And I hope the Prime Minister is listening, because I told it to him 3 days in a row. That's all he heard. North Sea oil, North Sea, because I want to see them do well. I want to stop seeing them ruining that beautiful Scottish and English countryside with windmills and massive solar panels that go 7 miles by 7 miles, taking away farmland. But we're not letting this happen in America. In 1982, the executive director of the United Nations Environmental Program predicted that by the year 2000, climate change would cause a global catastrophe. He said that it will be irreversible, as any nuclear holocaust would be. This is what they said at the United Nations. What happened? Here we are. Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world, but then it started getting cooler, so now they could just call it climate change, because that way they can't miss. It's climate change, because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign, they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail. I'm the President of the United States, but I worry about Europe. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake, and they cannot let that happen any longer. You're doing it because you want to be nice. You want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage. They must take control strongly and immediately of the unmitigated immigration disaster and the fake energy catastrophe before it's too late. The carbon footprint is a hoax made up by people with evil intentions, and they're heading down a path of total destruction. You know, the carbon footprint was a big, big thing a few years ago. I remember hearing about the carbon footprint, and then President Obama would get into Air Force One, a massive Boeing 747, and not a new one, an old one with old engines that spew everything into the atmosphere. He'd talk about the carbon footprint, we must do so. Then he'd get in and he'd fly from Washington to Hawaii to play a round of golf. And then he'd get back onto that big, beautiful plane and he'd fly back and he'd talk about, again, global warming and the carbon footprint. It's a con job. At extreme cost and expense, Europe reduced its own carbon footprint by 37%. Think of that. Congratulations, Europe. Great job. You cost yourself a lot of jobs, a lot of factories closed, but you reduced the carbon footprint by 37%. However, for all of that sacrifice and much more, it's been totally wiped out and then some by a global increase of 54%. Much of it coming from China and other countries that are thriving around China. which now produces more CO2 than all the other developed nations in the world. So all of these countries are working so hard on the carbon footprint, which is nonsense, by the way. It's nonsense. You know, it's interesting. In the United States, we have still radicalized environmentalists, and they want the factories to stop. Everything should stop. No more cows. We don't want cows anymore. I guess they want to kill all the cows. They want to do things that are just unbelievable, and you have it too. But you know, we have a border, strong, and we have a shape, and that shape doesn't just go straight up. That shape is amorphous when it comes to the atmosphere. And if we had the most clean air, and I think we do, we have very clean air. We have the cleanest air we've had in many, many years. But the problem is that other countries, like China, which has air that's a little bit rough, it blows. And no matter what you're doing down here, the air up here tends to get very dirty because it comes in from other countries where their air isn't so clean. And the environmentalists refuse to acknowledge that. Same thing with garbage. In Asia, they dump much of their garbage right into the ocean. And over about a 1 week and 2 week journey, it flows right past Los Angeles. You've seen it. Massive amounts of garbage, almost too much to do anything about, flowing past Los Angeles, past San Francisco, and then somebody will get in trouble because he dropped a cigarette on the beach. The whole thing is crazy. The primary effect of these brutal green energy policies has not been to help the environment, but to redistribute manufacturing and industrial activity from developed countries that follow the insane rules that are put down to polluting countries that break the rules and are making a fortune. They're making a fortune. European electricity bills are now 4 to 5 times more expensive than those in China, and 2 to 3 times higher than the United States. And our bills are coming way down. You probably see that our gasoline prices are way down. You know, we have an expression, drill, baby, drill, and that's what we're doing. We're going to be much lower in a year from now. But they've come way down over the last year. As a result, every air conditioner is like very uncommon to see one in some of these countries because the electric costs are so high. So while the U.S. has approximately 1,300 heat-related deaths annually, that's a lot, Europe loses more than 175,000 people to heat deaths each year because the costs are so expensive you can't turn on an air conditioner. What is that all about? That's not Europe. That's not the Europe that I love and know. All in the name of pretending to stop the global warming hoax. The entire globalist concept of asking successful industrialized nations to inflict pain on themselves and radically disrupt their entire societies must be rejected completely and totally, and it must be immediate. That's why in America I withdrew from the fake Paris Climate Accord, where, by the way, America was paying so much more than every country.
Say goodbye to Slack because chat's here and it's inside ClickUp. Everything you need in chat is here, like your DMs and even your channels. But there's a ton more you can do. Chat conversations can lead to so many new ideas, and now you can turn those ideas into action with just a couple of clicks. Any chat message can be turned into a task like magic. Simply select the message you want to turn into a task and click Create Task. You can create the task details manually, or you can create with AI and have the task name, details, and assignees created automatically based off context from the conversation, just like magic. ClickUp Chat is available now. Check it out and thank me later.
GoDaddy has the perfect hosting plan for any website, from low-cost shared hosting to your own virtual server. Every plan comes with a 99.9% uptime guarantee, along with a free domain name and award-winning support. No wonder we're the world's #1 web host. Unlock your online potential today with GoDaddy.
country. Others weren't paying. China didn't have to pay until 2030. Russia was given an old standard that was easy to meet, a 1990 standard. But for the United States, we're supposed to pay like $1 trillion. And I said, this is another scam. The fact is, the United States has been taken advantage of by the world for many, many years, but not any longer, as you probably noticed. I unleashed massive energy production and signed historic executive orders to hunt for oil, but we don't have to do much hunting because we have the most oil of any nation anywhere, oil and gas in the world. And if you add coal, we have the most of any nation in the world. Clean, I call it clean, beautiful coal. You can do things today with coal that you couldn't have done 10 years ago, 15 years. So I have a little standing order in the White House. Never use the word coal, only use the words clean, beautiful coal. Sounds much better, doesn't it? But we stand ready to provide any country with abundant, affordable energy supplies if you need them, when most of you do. We're proudly exporting energy all over the world. We're now the largest exporter. In the United States, we want trade and robust commerce with all nations, everybody. We want to help nations. We're going to help nations. But it must also be fair and reciprocal. The challenge with trade is much the same with climate. The countries that followed the rules, all their factories have been plundered. It's really sad to watch. They've been broken. They've been broken by countries that broke the rules. That's why the United States is now applying tariffs to other countries, and much as these tariffs were for many years applied to us, uncontrollably applied to us. We've used tariffs as a defense mechanism under the Trump administration, including my first term, where hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs were taken in. And by the way, we had the lowest inflation, and now we have very low inflation. The only thing different is that we have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into our country. But this is how we will ensure that the system works for everyone and is sustainable into the future. We're also using tariffs to defend our sovereignty and security throughout the world, including against nations that have taken advantage of former U.S. administrations for decades, including the most corrupt, incompetent administration in history, the sleepy Joe Biden administration. Brazil now faces major tariffs in response to its unprecedented efforts to interfere in the rights and freedoms of our American citizens and others, with censorship, repression, weaponization, judicial corruption, and targeting of political critics in the United States. I have a little problem saying this because I must tell you, I was walking in and the leader of Brazil was walking out. We saw him and I saw him, he saw me, and we embraced. And then I'm saying, can you believe I'm going to be saying this in just 2 minutes? But we actually agreed that we would meet next week. We didn't have much time to talk, like about 20 seconds. They were in retrospect, I'm glad I waited because this thing didn't work out too well. But we did talk, we had a good talk, and we agreed to meet next week, if that's of interest. But he seemed like a very nice man, actually. He liked me, I liked him. But if you, and I only do business with people I like. When I don't like them, I don't like them. But we had, at least for about 39 seconds, we had excellent chemistry. It's a good sign. But also in the past, Brazil, can you believe this, unfairly tariffed our nation, but now because of our tariffs, we are hitting them back, and we're hitting them back very hard. As president, I will always defend our national sovereignty and the rights of American citizens. So I'm very sorry to say this, that Brazil is doing poorly and will continue to do poorly. They can only do well when they're working with us. Without us, they will fail, just as others have failed. It's true. Next year, the United States will celebrate the 250th anniversary of our glorious independence, a testament to enduring power and American freedom and spirit. We will also be proudly hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup. and shortly thereafter the 2028 Olympics, which is going to be very exciting. I hope you all come. I hope that countless people from all over the globe will take part of these will be great celebrations of liberty and human achievement, and that together we all can rejoice in the miracles of history that began in July 4th, 1776, when we founded the light to all nations. And it's something really that an amazing thing came out of that date. It's called the United States of America. In honor of this momentous anniversary, I hope that all countries who find inspiration in our example will join us in renewing our commitment, values, and those values really that we hold so dear together.
קחי את מח העצם שלי. אני גם ככה לא משתמש בו.
זה לא עובד ככה. צריך לפענח. התאמה. זה עולה כסף.
רגע, מה אמרת? כסף? זה כל הסיפור? מה הבעיה? אני דואג לך לתרומות באמצעות קריינות משכנעת במיוחד. כסף זה כל הסיפור. אלה ושאר הילדים של עזר מציון צריכים את התרומה שלכם. יחד נגדיל את מאגר מח העצם הלאומי ונציל חיים. שזה כיף גדול.
כשמחפשים בית חדש, תחפשו מי הכי מתגמש בשבילכם. 5 חדרים, אולי 6? כניסה מיידית או בעוד שנה? מה שחשוב זה גמישות. והתנאים? משלמים רק 20%, נכנסים לדירה, והיתרה בעוד שנה. ומה עם הדירה הישנה שלכם? תמכרו, תזכירו. מה שהכי גמיש לכם. קבוצת שבירו, כוכבית 5737, במגוון פרויקטים ברחבי הארץ.
Let us defend free speech and free expression. Let us protect religious liberty, including for the most persecuted religion on the planet today. It's called Christianity. And let us safeguard our sovereignty and cherish qualities that have made each of our nations so special, incredible, and extraordinary. In closing, I just want to repeat that immigration and the high cost of so-called green renewable energy is destroying a large part of the free world and a large part of our planet. Countries that cherish freedom are fading fast because of their policies on these two subjects. You need strong borders and traditional energy sources if you are going to be great again. Whether you have come from north or south, east or west, near or far, every leader in this beautiful hall today represents a rich culture, a noble history, and a proud heritage that makes each nation majestic and unique, unlike anything else in human history or any other place on the face of the earth. From London to Lima, from Rome to Athens, from Paris to Seoul, from Cairo to Tokyo and Amsterdam to right here in New York City, we stand on the shoulders of the leaders and legends, generals and giants, heroes and titans who won and built our beloved nations, all of our nations, with their own courage, strength, spirit, and skill. Our ancestors climbed mountains, conquered oceans, crossed deserts, and trekked over wide open plains. They charged into thunderous battles, plunged into grave dangers, and they were soldiers and farmers and workers and warriors and explorers and patriots. They built towns into cities, tribes into kingdoms, ideas into industries, and small islands into mighty empires. You're a part of all of that. They were champions for their people who never gave up and who never, ever gave in. Their values defined our national identities. Their visions forged our magnificent destiny. Everybody in this room is a part of it in your own way. Each of us inherits the deeds and the myths, the triumphs, the legacies of our own heroes and founders who so bravely showed us the way. Our ancestors gave everything for homelands that they defended with pride, with sweat, with blood, with life, and with death. Now the righteous task of protecting the nations that they built belongs to each and every one of us. So together, let us uphold our sacred duty to our people and to our citizens. Let us protect their borders, ensure their safety, preserve their cultures, treasure, and traditions, and fight, fight, fight for their precious dreams and their cherished freedoms. And in friendship and really a beautiful vision, let us all work together to build a bright, beautiful planet, a planet that we all share, a planet.
Moi, j'ai trouvé ça
il faut
osé.
passer à tous les jours.
J'ai trouvé ça osé pour des paroles qu'on comprend pas tout le temps, la faire chanter devant l'Académie française, qui est quand même le lieu où on édite la langue française. Bon, effectivement, vous avez raison, monsieur Taube, il vaut mieux en rigoler plutôt qu'en pleurer. Mais c'est vrai que moi, la garde républicaine française, je trouve qu'il y aurait été... voilà.
Ah, ça vous a choqué d'avoir la garde républicaine avec Aya Nakamura?
Vous savez, moi j'assiste à beaucoup de cérémonies et la garde républicaine c'est celle qui joue la Marseillaise, c'est ceux qui jouent les hymnes nationaux. Il y a aussi le chœur de l'armée française qui chante à chaque fois lors des cérémonies.
Vous seriez pas allé danser avec Aya Nakamura quand vous étiez policier?
Moi je serais pas allé danser où?
Avec Aya Nakamura?
Non, parce que c'est vrai que je comprends pas tout le temps les chansons et puis mais à part ça, vous savez,
Marine Le Pen s'était opposée à sa présence à la cérémonie d'ouverture.
Oui, parce que c'est clivant, c'est vrai que c'est clivant et moi je suis d'accord avec monsieur Stanville sur ça, c'est que quand il y a un clivage, c'est compliqué de rassembler les Français. Moi je vous ai cité des images fortes qui ont été rassembleuses et qui sont dans l'unité et la concorde du pays. Après effectivement, c'est pareil, c'est vrai qu'il y avait ce monsieur, cette dame, je sais pas comment on l'appelait, sur le pont là, qui rampait.
Une femme à barbe.
Oui, je pensais que c'était Chewbacca, vous savez, cette personne poilue de Star Wars qui était un peu ressuscitée parce que franchement c'était un peu particulier. Non mais
vous pouvez pas dire ça, pas Chewbacca, une femme à barbe.
Et une femme à barbe, ouais.
Monsieur le Président, lundi soir à l'ONU à 21h30, vous reconnaîtrez l'État palestinien. Vous aurez droit à un tonnerre d'applaudissements de la part des États voyous, applaudissements qui vous manquent tant en France. Mais vous aurez droit aussi à un silence de mort, si j'ose dire. Des otages du Hamas qui, sous terre, entendront votre discours. Le Hamas se fera un plaisir de le diffuser. Le procès de Nuremberg aura marqué la fin du nazisme. L'offrande faite au Hamas marquera l'avènement de ce nouveau nazisme. Et c'est vous, en personne, qui leur ferez ce cadeau sur un plateau d'argent. Que devez-vous au Qatar, financier du Hamas, pour vous poser en champion, mon frère, de la cause palestinienne? Que devez-vous à l'Algérie pour vous taire et laisser mourir en prison Boualem Sansal? Qu'avez-vous promis à la Syrie pour accueillir Tapis Rouge, Rouge Sang, un ancien terroriste devenu président? Monsieur le Président, 78% des Français désapprouvent votre initiative. 72% des Français vous demandent un référendum sur l'immigration, mais vous ne les écoutez pas, vous n'écoutez plus personne. Lundi, à 21h30, au moment où vous donnerez votre bénédiction à ce nouvel État Hamas, la communauté juive de France trempera un quart de pomme dans un pot de miel, rituel immuable pour célébrer ce nouvel an juif. Mais ce soir-là, ce miel aura, par votre faute, un goût de fiel.
Avec le 7 octobre, on a franchi un cap. Férocité, sadisme, des femmes violées, puis tuées d'une balle en plein visage ou éventrées, des vieillards, des enfants, 1200 victimes, 250 otages, et tous attaqués très clairement en tant que juifs.
Alain Finkielkraut, que faisiez-vous le 7 octobre 2023?
Le 7 octobre, j'étais dans le train qui me ramenait d'Aix-en-Provence, où la veille, j'avais fait une conférence. Donc, la première alerte, je l'ai reçue dans le train, mais je ne savais pas grand-chose. On parlait de quelques morts, enfin, c'était... Donc, rentré chez moi, je me suis précipité devant mon écran de télévision, et j'ai peu à peu compris toute l'horreur de ce qui venait de se passer et qui ne se compare à rien dans l'histoire d'Israël. C'est une histoire pourtant émaillée de violence et d'attentats. Attentats dans les autobus. Je connaissais une famille en Israël et le père de famille me disait qu'il demandait à ses enfants, quand ils rentraient de l'école, de ne pas prendre le même bus. À la limite, pour qu'ils ne meurent pas tous les deux. C'est une chose inconcevable pour nous dans notre sécurité française. Les Israéliens étaient acclimatés à l'atrocité. Mais avec le 7 octobre, on a franchi un cap, férocité, sadisme, des femmes violées, puis tuées d'une balle en plein visage ou éventrées, des vieillards, des enfants, 1200 victimes, 250 otages, et tous attaqués très clairement en tant que juifs. C'est-à-dire, ce n'était pas une action terroriste contre un État, c'était la mise en œuvre d'une volonté génocidaire adressée à un peuple. Vous, les Juifs, vous n'avez rien à faire sur cette terre, et nous vous le faisons savoir. Et en outre, ce que j'ai appris très vite, et d'ailleurs parce que j'ai vu quelques-unes de ces images, c'est que les combattants, les miliciens du Hamas avaient filmé leurs exploits. Les nazis, ils avaient dissimulé la sonde finale. Eux, ils ont exhibé leur massacre. Ils en étaient fiers. Et ils voulaient communiquer tout ça au reste du monde. Et un certain nombre, et des foules arabes, se sont gargarisés de ces images. C'est un traumatisme pour tous les Juifs, et ce devrait être un traumatisme pour le monde entier.
L'Occident a-t-il saisi, selon vous, le sens de ce massacre, ou sommes-nous encore dans ce masochisme occidental que dénonçait déjà Octavio Paz en 1980 ?
Ce pogrom n'a pas été laissé sans réponse par Israël. Et maintenant, la guerre à Gaza efface peu à peu le 7 octobre, puisque dans une grande partie de l'opinion, ce qui prévaut, c'est la logique comptable. 1200 morts, 5000 blessés, des otages, peut-être. Mais combien de morts à Gaza ? Et parmi ces morts, combien de civils ? Et parmi ces civils, combien de femmes, combien d'enfants ? Voilà ce qui prévaut dans une très grande partie de l'opinion, ce qui fait qu'on est presque gêné aujourd'hui de commémorer le 7 octobre, et qu'Israël est mis au banc des accusés par une partie importante de l'opinion occidentale et par tous les pays du Sud et par le secrétaire général de l'ONU, Antonio Guterres, qui est, si vous voulez, en quelque sorte, le porte-voix de Rima Hassan à New York.
Dans vos précédents entretiens, vous avez tenu à faire la différence entre les attaques du Hamas et la riposte de Tsahal. Expliquez-nous.
Israël répond à ce pogrom, parce que c'en est fini, en effet, de la pacifité juive. Avant, il y avait des pogroms, il ne s'y suivit pas rien. Maintenant, il y a une armée. Et donc on répond, avec la volonté de réduire à néant la force militaire du Hamas. Mais les Israéliens font ce qu'ils peuvent dans des conditions difficiles pour éviter les victimes civiles. Les Israéliens préviennent de l'imminence de leur bombardement, et malheureusement, le Hamas cache ses stocks d'armes dans des écoles, dans des hôpitaux, et tire aussi depuis des habitations civiles. Donc c'est une situation terrible, mais l'idée qu'Israël poursuit perpètre un génocide à Gaza est absurde. Aucun convoi d'aide humanitaire n'était acheminé à Treblinka ou à Auschwitz. Il n'y a pas une campagne de vaccination au ghetto de Varsovie. Reste que le nombre des victimes à Gaza nous interpelle. Et que je pense qu'aujourd'hui, cette guerre devrait cesser. Que les Israéliens sont venus à bout de la force militaire du Hamas. Donc, j'attendrai un geste dans ce sens. Et d'un autre côté, toujours le va-et-vient, un attentat a eu lieu à Tel Aviv, il y a quelques jours, 7 morts dans un tramway, et la branche armée du Hamas a revendiqué cet attentat. C'est quand même incroyable, je veux dire. Et le Hamas dit aussi que la protection des civils n'est pas de leur ressort. Elle est du ressort des agences de l'ONU. Et le Hamas réserve ces tunnels à ses otages et à ses combattants. Donc, c'est une situation terrible. Le cynisme du Hamas est absolument sans limite.
Vous êtes toutefois sévère sur Netanyahou, dont vous dites qu'il sabote consciencieusement toutes les solutions.
Je pense en effet que Netanyahou n'a aucune stratégie pour l'après et que ses ministres extrémistes poursuivent, eux, un objectif très précis. Vider Gaza autant que faire se peut et la Judée-Samarie de la population arabe ou d'un maximum de Palestiniens. Et ils disent d'ailleurs, très tranquillement, que le transfert de population est une constante de l'histoire humaine. C'est vrai. Et Netanyahou, c'est lier les mains. Il est l'otage, je ne suis pas le premier à la dire, de ces jusqu'au-boutistes, parce que s'ils s'écartent de leur projet, ils risquent de quitter la coalition. Et à ce moment-là, on irait vers de nouvelles élections. Et ce que Benjamin Netanyahou ne veut absolument pas voir arriver. Donc effectivement, penser que Itamar Ben-Gvir et Bezalel Smotrich ont la haute main sur le destin des Israéliens et des Palestiniens a de quoi me faire frémir.
En France, la réponse politique a-t-elle été à la hauteur de cette tragédie ?
Ça dépend. La réponse politique de la gauche, non seulement n'est pas à la hauteur, mais elle est franchement ignoble. La gauche, sous l'égide ou sous le joug de la France insoumise, a choisi non seulement les Palestiniens, mais le Hamas. Du côté des autres personnalités politiques, les choses sont différentes. Mais nos responsables ne sont pas tout à fait à la hauteur parce qu'ils mettent dans le même sac le racisme et l'antisémitisme. Ils veulent le combattre ensemble. Or, premièrement, des victimes éventuelles du racisme fournissent le gros contingent des antisémites d'aujourd'hui. Et deuxièmement, l'antisémitisme n'est plus un racisme. Il ne l'a pas toujours été, et depuis la chute du Troisième Reich, il a définitivement cessé de l'être. Il revêt maintenant l'habit sans tache de l'antiracisme. Le sionisme est une forme de racisme, dit-on, dans toute une partie de la gauche, et au-delà de la gauche, chez des hommes politiques bien sous tout rapport, comme Dominique de Villepin, et ce que beaucoup de gens traduisent en mettant un trait d'union entre l'étoile de David et la croix gammée. Et les Juifs sont comptables du racisme d'Israël. Donc, une haine est aujourd'hui à l'œuvre, qui est immaculée, qui est pure, qui est morale, qui est humaniste, et qui peut donc tranquillement se donner libre cours.
Alors le 7 octobre était un anniversaire mondial, je dirais. On ne va pas avoir évidemment de commentaires qui nous permettraient de savoir comment l'événement a été commémoré un peu partout sur la planète. On est souvent franco-français, on est rarement européen et on est rarement planétaire sur ce sujet-là, mais de fait, il y a hélas un tas de gens qui vont se réjouir aujourd'hui. Je voudrais que cet événement nous permette de voir comment il a été géré en France par un Emmanuel Macron. Hélas, on est obligé d'en revenir toujours à lui, parce qu'on a entendu tout et le contraire de tout. Tout au départ, il était question d'une force internationale pour lutter contre le Hamas et permettre à Israël de durer, etc., etc. Tout le monde se souvient de ce moment-là. Puis après, ça a été tout à fait autre chose. Il est parti en Cisjordanie, il a rencontré Mahmoud Abbas, il a été extrêmement silencieux, il n'a pas dit grand-chose, il était un peu embêté, on a vu les images. Je dirais le langage non verbal nous a permis de voir un peu dans quel état d'encombrement intellectuel il était. Et c'est très difficile dans des configurations planétaires de faire fonctionner en même temps. On ne peut pas être en même temps pour Poutine et pour l'Ukraine. On ne peut pas être en même temps pour le Hamas et pour Israël. On ne peut pas être en même temps pour une chose et son contraire. Donc on a pu voir comment il s'était comporté, les silences qui ont pu être les siens, et puis les choses qu'il n'a pas faites, qui font parfois beaucoup plus de sens que ce qu'il peut bien dire. On a un chef de l'État qui est moins traçable par son verbe, il faut pas du tout écouter ce qu'il raconte, que traçable par ce qu'il fait, très précisément. Et il n'a évidemment rien fait de cette force internationale, qui n'était pas forcément une mauvaise idée, de placer le conflit sur le terrain international en se disant que une guerre ne doit pas rester entre deux belligérants, mais qu'elle doit être élargie et qu'elle doit être la plus courte possible et qu'elle doit même être évitée si c'est possible. C'était évidemment la meilleure des stratégies très vite et au départ. Mais pour ça, il faut un crédit. Et Macron n'a pas de crédit. Un général de Gaulle aurait pu avoir un crédit. La parole d'Emmanuel Macron, quand il s'agit de la Chine, quand il s'agit du Qatar, quand il s'agit de la Russie, ou quand il s'agit des mollahs d'Iran, ça pèse pas très lourd. C'est une parole démonétisée depuis extrêmement longtemps. Alors ce qu'on a vu, c'est qu'il a profité quand même de manière symbolique, je ne sais pas s'il le fait exprès, mais 48 heures avant la commémoration, il en a profité pour dire qu'il arrêtait de livrer des armes à Israël, puisque Israël menait une guerre, alors il n'a pas dit génocidaire, mais enfin menait la guerre que l'on sait. Et c'était une façon d'envoyer un message aux États-Unis, au monde entier, mais aussi et surtout, et je pense qu'il faudrait que les gens commencent à comprendre ces choses-là, à sa banlieue, je dirais, ou à la rue arabe, comme il est dit parfois dans une expression qui mériterait des précisions. Mais il s'agit effectivement de ne pas troubler les banlieues qui restent au calme tant qu'on leur donne de temps en temps un petit os à ronger. Il y a une manifestation contre l'antisémitisme, et bien Emmanuel Macron n'y va pas. C'est le chef de l'État qui n'y va pas. C'est pas seulement Emmanuel Macron personnellement, il faudrait qu'il comprenne ça. C'est-à-dire qu'on donne un signe. Alors évidemment, on donne un signe en disant l'antisémitisme, c'est pas très grave, c'est pas très important. Il y a quelque chose de plus important, c'est le silence des banlieues ou le calme des banlieues. Et là, ça recommence. C'est-à-dire ceux qui nous disent qu'il faudrait un cessez-le-feu sont fort sympathiques, mais je veux dire, un cessez-le-feu, ça ne se fait pas comme ça en disant, bon, bah, tiens, on arrête aujourd'hui et puis l'affaire est réglée. Cessez-le-feu, ça s'obtient parce que l'un donne et l'autre donne aussi de son côté. Je rappelle qu'il y a toujours des otages, je rappelle que nous avons toujours 2 otages français, je rappelle qu'il y a eu une quarantaine de morts franco-israéliens et que Emmanuel Macron prend ça un peu à la légère, et que cette façon de ne pas se rendre à des manifestations contre l'antisémitisme, cette façon de choisir cette date pour dire qu'il va arrêter de donner des armes. D'ailleurs, les spécialistes ont l'air de dire que ce sont des armes assez symboliques, globalement, que ce ne sont pas des armes qui engagent véritablement ou qui seraient véritablement létales. Là, il faudrait que j'en sache un peu plus. Je ne suis pas spécialiste dans cette histoire d'armes qui auraient, qui auront ou qui ont été livrées. Toujours est-il qu'effectivement, ce sont des signes qui sont envoyés à la banlieue, exactement comme la cérémonie des Jeux Olympiques a donné des signes aux banlieues. Enfin, c'est comme ça en permanence. C'est-à-dire comme la cérémonie de la fête de la musique, ce sont des signes qui sont envoyés en permanence. Simplement, on n'a pas les moyens de jouer comme ça, petit bras, en disant on va obtenir le calme indéfiniment. Il y a un moment donné où ça ne suffira pas d'acheter la paix sociale de cette manière-là. parce qu'il y a une politique à mener, aussi bien en France qu'en Europe, en France dans l'Europe, et puis une politique à mener en France dans l'Europe et pour le monde, et tout ça est évidemment absolument invisible. C'est-à-dire qu'Emmanuel Macron joue personnellement sa partition. On sait très bien que ça lui sert pour occuper le terrain pendant 3 ans. Il ne sait pas trop ce qu'il va faire, donc il fait de l'international. Mais il y a cette première chose qu'il fallait dire. La deuxième chose, c'est que il n'y a pas eu, contrairement à ce qu'a annoncé la ministre de l'Éducation nationale, de cérémonie commémorative à l'école. À l'école, il eût été facile, enfin possible du moins, facile pas forcément, mais d'expliquer ce qui s'était passé, d'expliquer ce qu'est le conflit israélo-palestinien, de raconter l'histoire de la Palestine, l'histoire de la création de l'État d'Israël, la mettre en relation avec la Shoah et l'Holocauste. Enfin, on peut faire de l'histoire et pas de l'idéologie. Expliquer pourquoi on en est arrivé là et expliquer ce qui est susceptible d'être dit ou fait en termes historiques et non pas du tout en termes militants. Ça n'a pas été fait. La ministre a été humiliée d'une certaine manière, puisqu'elle a annoncé publiquement, puis elle a été obligée de se rétracter en disant que mais non, on l'avait pas vraiment bien comprise, c'était des cérémonies en hommage au professeur qui avait été égorgé, notamment Samuel Paty, et que ça n'avait rien à voir avec le 7 octobre. Et pourtant, les bandes sont susceptibles d'être écoutées, et quand on les écoute, il était bien question de commémorer ce qui s'est passé le 7 octobre en Israël. Donc, reculade sur ce sujet-là aussi, concession qui est faite, une concession majeure, évidemment, puisque c'est une reculade. On ne peut pas en permanence parler de l'école, de la culture, de la laïcité ou toutes ces choses-là, si effectivement aujourd'hui on ne peut plus parler de Darwin, parce que ça contrarie l'islam. On ne peut plus parler de Galilée, parce que ça contrarie l'islam. On ne peut plus parler de l'histoire telle qu'elle est, la Shoah par exemple, telle qu'elle a eu lieu, parce que ça contrarie, du moins pas tant l'islam que l'islamisme, que les gens qui sont des partisans d'une théocratie musulmane. C'est pas exactement la même chose que les musulmans qui vivent sur le territoire français. Et je pense que l'école recule en permanence en n'enseignant pas les fondamentaux. On peut enseigner la religion, on peut très bien enseigner, quand on est musulman, ce qu'on appelle le platisme, en expliquant que la Terre est plate parce que Mahomet nous dit que Dieu a aplati la Terre et que donc elle ne saurait être ronde. Ça, les parents peuvent très bien enseigner ça à leurs enfants, s'ils le souhaitent. Ils peuvent très bien enseigner le fait que la Terre n'est pas un satellite du Soleil. Ça, c'est leur affaire, que Dieu a créé l'homme à partir de la boue, de la terre et d'un souffle, et que ça n'est pas le produit d'une évolution comme Darwin nous l'enseigne depuis 1859. On peut très bien, quand on est parent, enseigner ces choses-là si on veut, mais pas à l'école. L'école, elle est laïque et elle défend normalement la raison, la rationalité, la science, la scientificité et les choses vérifiables. Donc je pense que cette façon de renoncer, là aussi, là encore, à commémorer cet événement pour dire nous allons penser, nous allons réfléchir, c'est une erreur. Moi, si j'étais resté prof de philo là où j'étais, je pense qu'avec mes élèves, on aurait évidemment dans toutes les classes, et j'avais 9 classes quand j'avais mon emploi du temps complet, eh bien, j'aurais abordé la question avec mes élèves, et puis j'aurais veillé à ne pas blesser les élèves musulmans, à ne pas blesser les autres, les élèves juifs, etc., simplement en expliquant, en racontant, et puis en donnant du factuel et en tâchant de penser le factuel. C'est-à-dire qu'on voit bien que Emmanuel Macron n'a pas le sens de la nation, n'a pas le sens de l'histoire, n'a pas le sens de ce qu'est la France. Et cette façon de dire tout et son contraire, c'est-à-dire on va faire une armée internationale pour qu'Israël ne soit pas seul, et puis de dire aujourd'hui on ne livre plus d'armes alors que finalement les armes avaient l'air assez symboliques, c'est vraiment tout et le contraire de tout. On ridiculise les Français, et en même temps, la France et les Français, et en même temps, on n'obtient pas pour autant la paix dans les banlieues. On sacrifie sa puissance, et c'est pas rien de disposer d'une puissance, on sacrifie cette puissance pour quelques plats de lentilles, qui sont la paix sociale, qui est bien fragile, et je trouve que nous nous déshonorons à nous comporter, quand je dis nous, c'est un pluriel de majesté, mais nous, la France, à nous comporter comme nous nous comportons. J'ai un peu honte d'être sujet du roi Macron, je dirais. Il y avait quand même d'autres choses à faire, notamment commémorer clairement, notamment peut-être revoir sa politique en matière d'armement, mais sûrement pas à cette date-là, et manifester cette idée qu'il y a un choc des civilisations, qu'il y a un conflit de civilisation, et que ce qui se joue en Israël, c'est clairement dit par le Hamas, c'est clairement dit par le Hezbollah, c'est clairement dit par l'Iran des Mollahs, puis c'est aussi clairement dit par Mélenchon et les siens, c'est la disparition de l'État d'Israël. C'est la disparition de l'État d'Israël. C'est un État palestinien du Jourdain à la mer, comme il est dit, et donc il est question de supprimer une espèce d'enclave occidentale dans un monde immense qu'est le monde musulman, quand on regarde en termes d'États musulmans, de géographie des États musulmans, de population musulmane sur la planète. Il n'y a pas péril en la demeure que de laisser l'équivalent de deux départements français pour 9 millions, pour qu'il y habite 9 millions de juifs. Ça devrait pouvoir s'envisager de manière planétaire quand on est chef de l'État. C'est un métier. Emmanuel Macron fait le sien de manière assez pitoyable et c'est un peu honteux. Il y a des Palestiniens qui meurent aujourd'hui, il y a des Juifs qui meurent aujourd'hui, il y a une situation explosive. L'Iran est en train d'attendre la belle occasion d'un djihad planétaire qui permettrait de faire exploser une bombe atomique. Il y a des gens qui nous disent mais ils ont bien le droit d'avoir une bombe atomique, bien sûr, pourquoi pas. Mais je pense que nous manquons de grands chefs de l'État, de grands cerveaux. Biden est en train de s'en aller, donc il pilote rien du tout. Les États-Unis sont aux abonnés absents, tant que les élections n'ont pas eu lieu. Et puis Poutine, pendant ce temps-là, est en train d'agir. Je trouve que nous avons manqué d'une occasion de manifester notre affection pour ce pays. Je rappelle que nous avons 20 siècles de judéo-christianisme derrière nous.
Les asticots sont tout réjouis d'avoir encore le dernier mot. Ils nous mangeront ces temps-ci, pourtant le ciel est si beau. À quoi bon de tous finir sous terre? À quoi bon notre passage est éphémère? Je sais pour le courage, je sais dominer les sauvages, et balayer tous les mirages, aucune limite, aucun barrage. Je sais pour le courage, je sais dominer les sauvages, et balayer tous les mirages, aucune limite, aucun barrage. Aucune limite, aucun barrage. Pensez-y la prochaine fois que l'angoisse vous enserre, ou prisonnier aux abois, seul le courage vous libère.